more than just quantifying something, and they're more than symbolic. They are vibrational. That's what we're talking about here. They carry a particular frequency that you can equate to an emotion.
Welcome, I'm Elise.
And I'm Jess, and this is Spiritual Alchemy,
the podcast where we explore the intersection of science and spirituality
and how it shapes our everyday lives.
Hi, Jess.
Hi, Elise.
We are back today.
Here we go again. Today, we are talking about numerology.
The basics of numerology.
Very basic.
Very basic.
Very basic. The power of numbers and patterns. And there is a quote by Galilei. Nature is written in mathematical language. I think that everything ties back to numbers, and that is why, not me personally, but people love math. They really do, and everything does tie back to math. That's why we have equations in science. It's why we have equations that can basically solve almost any problem, tangibly. And
I love math. It's so weird.
So you do love math.
Well, the part of your brain that is music, language, and math, it's all the same part of your brain. So I liked math because there was always something quantifiable to find. I really liked algebra and calculus because it was a formula that you had to dig through to get the answer. Now, do not be deceived. I was not good at math.
Yeah.
But it fascinated me, and I worked really, really hard for it.
What I think is really, you kind of also just said this, but music is also patterns, counts. You have to count the music. You have certain measures of music, so there's patterns within music. And I studied music when I was younger, so I do know how to read music. It's a little bit lost on me, but
even in a way, like, have you ever listened to a song where you can walk away and hum what you just heard? That's pattern recognition.
Yeah.
That's math, or a pattern that is so meticulously calculated.
Yeah.
And so natural to the human psyche that you can maybe hear something once and walk away and still be humming what you just heard.
Yeah.
I don't know. Can you think of anything more powerful than that?
Truly, I can't.
So it's all in the numbers.
Yeah. It all comes down to numbers.
All about numbers.
But numerology is like the magic of numbers. The magic of patterns and what they mean and how they hold. And we'll dive into some secret meanings. We'll dive into a little bit more just like pattern recognition meanings. But do you have any numbers that you like specifically that have meaning to you? Or
so my number in sports, I think it started around like 6th or 7th grade, started being 14. I always wanted to be number 14. I remember really enjoying being the age 14. I felt like a teenager for the first time at 14. My sister was born on the 14th. I'm the oldest of 4. It goes girl, boy, boy, girl. My mom never found out the sex of the baby. We always got to find out day of. And I remember that surprise and just this love. I was like, I have a sister. And I'm born on the 7th. She's born on the 14th. So it feels something like a mirror, like a times 2, and just it's a constant reminder of this lifelong connection that I have for the rest of my life with my sister, a built-in best friend, maybe call it. And it shows up in gentle ways. And I mean, whenever I see 14 or even like the 14th of every month, it just tickles me inside because it's been my number for more than half my life now.
Oh, wow.
What about you?
Oh, for sure. I mean, my birthday's the 11th, so 11 was a big number. Like, I always wanted to like be associated with the number 11. And also 7, because I'm July, so 7-11.
That's lucky.
That's lucky, and I always thought it was like 11 is considered such a lucky number. 7, 777, lucky girl, tattooed on myself, on my person, and like, yeah, 7 to me was always like, oh, she's lucky. Like, it just, I don't know, like, I always kind of associated it with luck and fortune, like, and, you know, it was kind of like this mantra that I would tell myself, and maybe it was like a mindset shift where I was like, even when bad stuff was happening, I kind of always had, like, maybe not always, but even when bad things were happening, it gave me this sense of, like, it's okay, I'll always come out on top. Like, it's always going to work out for me. And, like, looking on the bright side of things. So, I really like that, but I'm a big believer in angel numbers, which angel numbers are repeating numbers, specifically 3 in a row. So, like, 222, 333, 444.
You're gonna name all of them.
I'm eventually probably gonna have all of them, but yeah, like angel numbers, specific ones, they all hold a different meaning. And to me, they kind of started popping up in repeated patterns. And again, I used to work at a meditation studio where I was around a lot of like holistic healing practitioners, and I would be like, oh my gosh, 111, like on the clock, or 222, and someone would be like, oh my gosh, it means this, and like your angels are trying to tell you this, and I'm like, okay, like I can fuck with that. Like, yeah, my angels are telling me keep going, you're doing a great job. Love that. And it just turned into like a sign of when I have a question or when I'm like
Look
really,
for it.
I don't
not even look for it. Wait for it to show up.
I don't even wait for it to show up. I think what it is for me is that they show up when I'm thinking about certain things. Like if I'm thinking about a tough decision I need to make, and I might see like 111. That just means like if I'm thinking about what I want to do in that a certain situation. If I see 111, I know it's like a little reminder of like, hey, you're gonna make the right choice for you. And just kind of like seeing that more as like a reassurance of like, hey, you're divinely protected and guided. Like everything's cool.
Well, I think all of us can relate to when seeing 11:11 on the clock and going, make a wish, right? If you haven't heard that, I don't know what rock you've been under, but welcome. You're listening to this and you're not under the rock. Yeah. But I think everyone's, 11:11, make a wish.
Yeah.
And I think that's the oldest one we got, and I think the one that maybe most people can relate to if they've never really zoned in on numerology and what these numbers could mean, or even, glancing up the clock and seeing 222, maybe you'll think about it differently now.
Yeah.
And what it's trying to tell you.
Numerology is the practice that explores the mystical meaning and the influence of numbers on human lives, spiritual journeys, and universal patterns. We talked about patterns at the very beginning.
And you get a number as soon as you're born. Right?
Your birth date.
Your birth date is your first number you receive in this world.
First number you know. And it's believed that each number carries a unique vibration, and that the energy can offer insights into personality, life path, and potential.
Okay.
So each number 1 through 9 in numerology is associated with a specific trait or characteristic, which it offers insights into personality and life purpose. Then you've got life path numbers. So your life path number is your birth date added up
to a singular digit.
So it's like, if your birth date is like,
let's do today
when we're recording, which is April 25th, 2025. So we would do 4 plus 2 plus 5 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5. And that equals
2025.
So 20.
2.
So
Today's 2.
Today's a 2. Because then at the end, when we get to 20, we would add 2 and 0. And
it's a 2.
And it's a 2. So that's life path numbers is that. That is supposed to be a core concept in numerology that's calculated from your birth date and provides insight into your life's purpose and potential. So it's the path you're on. Master numbers like 11, 22, 33, they're considered master numbers, possess unique strengths and challenges. Personal year numbers. So numerology uses personal year numbers calculated from your birth date and current year to provide insights into the year's themes and challenges.
Ooh, I have never heard of this one before.
Yeah. So it's kind of, there's also a theme and a topic for a later day, but there's annual perfection years, which are based on astrology and your rising sign.
Okay.
So how old you are correlates with what perfection year you're in and what your kind of like theme of the year is. So personal year numbers is similar because it's based on your specific birth date.
Okay.
And again, going back to those number meanings. So personal year number is essentially like the date of your birth.
Okay.
Like your birth date. So my life path number is a 4. When you add up my birth date, you get 4.
Okay.
Then I would add this year, 2025's
to that 4.
To that, no.
To your birth date.
I would add up that, find what this year's is. So this year's is 9.
Okay.
So then I would add 9 and 4. 9 and 4 is 13. So again, it's a 4.
You can't get away from them 4s.
Can't get away from 4s.
To make it clear for people, because I've tinkered with numerology. I'm not as well versed as Jess in this, but I think what is the hardest thing to understand is that regardless of getting a double digit number like 13 or whatnot, you will always split the number and then add them together until you get a singular number.
Yes. Your goal is to get a number between 1 and 9.
Right.
So that you get the meaning of the year. And the reason for that is that it also ties into like Vedic numerology. So in Vedic numerology, a specific type of numerology that is based in Hindu astrology, they use the 9 planets to help determine the characteristics of the numbers.
And how interesting that we have 9 single digits and 9 planets. Whether or not you want to say one affected the other, I'm going to say the planets were there first. Humans were here second. Like everything that we express forward is a culmination of what we are surrounded by. So who knows if our numerology has anything to do with the stars and planets in our sky.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So the only other things that I was going to say about how we use numerology is divination. So divination is associated with spirituality. Numerology can be used as a tool for divination and self-reflection, offering insights into potential life paths and decisions. One of the last ways that we also use numerology is for relationship analysis. So people will use numerology to assess the compatibility or the dynamics between individuals in a relationship. But I mean, on a very basic level, it's basically like kind of how we figured out my personal year number for this year. You would do the same thing, but with your partner's birth date, and then
combine everything together
to find the number of like what your 2 paths.
So let's do you and I.
So you're a 6,
and
I'm a 4.
Okay.
So together we are 10, which is a 1. So 1s are all about like self-discovery, personal growth,
leadership, independence.
Yeah. So like what a beautiful number for us, and like very true of kind of like the work we're doing here. Whereas like
if 1 was a relationship, it's going to probably be a little harder because leadership and independence are important in a relationship, but not really that number that you would want to be
for a romantic relationship.
Exactly.
You can also use this for relationships, like adding up the day that you first met, or the date of your first date, to kind of, in divination, you would predict kind of the success of the relationship. Another way that historically I think it's been used in relationship analysis is the date of a wedding.
Okay.
So you add up the dates that you plan to get married, and if it's like, depending on the number, you might change the date. So like ideally you would want to get married on a date that's like adds up to a 4, because that's stability, structure, grounded, practical, energy of discipline, foundation, reliability, like good qualities for a relationship. So just like a cute little example of like how numerology would be used in that.
And I think to just spark curiosity and interest, because it can get confusing. I mean, it's not confusing because there's only 9 numbers, but as far as like the math of adding everything up, which ways to calculate it, let's say, numbers are more than just quantifying something, and they're more than symbolic. They are vibrational. That's what we're talking about here. They carry a particular frequency that you can equate to an emotion. So to just run through them, the number 1 is leadership and independence. So it's like bold, initiating, forward moving, the idea of beginnings and awareness, assertiveness. Number 2, harmony and duality. I've always loved 2. It reminds me of like twin flames. It's gentle, intuitive, cooperative, working together, balance, sensitivity. I love 2. 3, creative and expressive, joy, liveliness, communication. One of Jess's favorite 4. Actually, I think the first gift I ever gave you was a candle that was 444. And I didn't even know her that well yet. And I just saw it and I was like, there's a Jess. Yeah. And 4 is stability and structure. Yeah. Grounded, methodical, practical. 5 is freedom and change, which we've, talked about, that if you're in a romantic relationship with freedom and change, maybe that doesn't work. But if you're in a point where you're like looking for a sign to do something different with your life, 5 is dynamic, adventurous, spontaneous, and then leading to 6, nurturing and responsibility. My personal romantic relationship adds up to a 6, so it's warm, caring, service oriented, home, caregiving. I didn't know that until just now, so that's a good number. I like that. Yeah, you're getting to see my like authentic reaction to finding out my relationship is a 6. I'm like, I fuck with that. Yeah. 7 is introspection and wisdom. You see 7 pop up a lot in the Bible as far as God. 7 days in our week. It's mystical. It's full of spirituality, I think. 7 has always been a really lovely number to me. I'm born on the 7th.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
8, power and manifestation. You take 8, you turn it on its side. What is it?
An infinity sign.
So we love 8. A lot of abundance, material success. And finally, our final singular digit number, 9. Completion, compassion, universal awareness, unimind, you could say, and healing.
I think it's beautiful too to think of like, think of it just like growing, right? Like you start with a 1, you start so small, it's a new beginning, it's just an idea, it's just a seed, and then by the time you get to 9, like you kind of go through this journey, and then it's like you've blossomed into this beautiful flower by the time you get to 9. Yeah. And it's like, that's just the energy of numbers and like their meaning and the vibrations that they hold.
It's a metaphysical idea that numbers emit a frequency, much like certain colors put together can make you feel a certain way when you look at a painting, much like how music can give you a feeling. I look at numbers kind of in the same way. They mean something.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah. Numerology also has ancient roots dating back to the Pythagorean Vedic systems, it's rooted in various cultures. So the origins can be traced back to ancient civilizations, and particularly like Babylon, ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, India, China. Western numerology is the most popular system. It's commonly attributed to our lovely Greek philosopher and mathematician, Pythagoras.
Zaddy.
The triangle guy. Yes, that Pythagoras.
You say Pythagoras? I've always said Pythagoras.
Pythagoras. Maybe that's just an East Coast thing. I don't know. Like Pythagorean theorem.
Pythagorean theorem. I don't know. I'm from Buffalo, though. We talk weird up
Well,
there.
I'm from Philly. We talk super weird. Are you kidding?
Whatever. Some old Greek zaddy.
Some old Greek triangle daddy who lived around 500 to 490 BCE.
Mm-hmm.
That's how far back this dates. So his contribution, he's considered the father. He literally is the daddy of Western numerology. He's our numerology daddy. And due to his theories about divine order of the universe, again, patterns, and the vibrational nature of numbers, he believes that everything could be understood through mathematical principles. What a daddy.
I hope he's listening somewhere.
Yeah.
He's also the father of music theory.
Mm-hmm.
And I try not to go too much on music tangents.
Go off on a music tangent. Tell me about Daddy Peggy.
I mean, when you think about quantifying something, right, it gets so important in society to be able to say, hey, I have one of this and I need two of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's math is embedded into our language, and then we have to figure out what to call it. And that's what these philosophers were doing at the time, right? They were figuring out maths and quantifying things. And one thing that Pythagoras was very much enraptured by was figuring out how to quantify music, right? Rhythms, we know, have been around for quite a while, but as far as like tonal structure and sound, around the 6th century, Pythagoras discovered musical intervals. Intervals is just a fancy word of saying like the space between. So whether it be 1 step or 2 steps or 10 steps, right? And the difference between pitches, right? Just notes. And how they could be expressed in numerical ratios, which we need numbers to do. He figured out how to like categorize all this and put it in a numerical system. And he would take a string, one string, pluck it, listen to the tone. And then he would cut the string in half and then pluck it. What he found was one string cut in half would then create a same kind of tone or pitch, but higher or lower, but they would be in sync with each other. We call these perfect octaves for any musicians listening. It's the same note, just 8 apart.
Right.
And what do we know about the number 8?
Infinity sign?
Infinity, right?
Yeah.
We can scroll
Power
over.
manifestation.
So octaves carry a lot of like grounding power in music. Another one that we love as musicians is a perfect 5th. So that's a 2 to 3 ratio. 5 is freedom and change. Then another big interval, and this is the last one I'll do, is a 3 to 4 ratio when it comes down to these like strings that he was using to produce these tones. And that's a perfect 4th. Which is,
I love the number 4, so.
And so I would say the most important numbers in music as a music teacher is your octave, 8, your perfect 5th, 5, your perfect 4th, 4. So how funny that we're, Jess and I here, we were talking about numerology and the vibration and the frequency and the weight that these numbers carry, but it's already expressed so naturally in music, which was first created by Pythagoras himself.
Wow.
Or discovered and quantified and written down. Pythagoras believed that the universe itself was built on harmonic ratios, that everything was a 1 to 2, a 3 to 4, everything was just ratios. And then he proposed that the planets emit frequency. or sound.
They've proven this. Because I don't know if you've ever seen this, but I follow NASA and I love space. So there are, I forget what it's called. It's like the electromagnetic frequency
EMFs, yeah.
EMFs of the planets. They'll scan it and you get to hear like what Venus sounds like, what Mars sounds like, what Jupiter sounds like. Pluto sounds crazy. I'm just telling you. I will send you this, and maybe we'll post a link in the
That'd be
bio.
cool.
So you can listen to the planets, and he was right. They do emit a frequency.
So to Pythagoras, music, which is math, it wasn't just art, it was math made audible. I'm going to say that again because I think that's like a really like crazy thing to think about. We had music, but Pythagoras was able to make the music, prove that it was math. Math was music, music was math.
Mm-hmm.
And music is just math that's audible.
Yeah.
And by understanding music, we're tuning into the frequencies of the cosmos, and we're then tuning into the frequency of us. Like I told you, I love math, and then I love music.
Yeah. And music and math, like what is music without math?
It doesn't exist. Numerology, is it still practiced today? Has it changed? How has it evolved? We're talking mostly from a Western understanding of numerology, just to make it very clear for everybody, but has it changed? Is it still alive?
I think it is. I think it's kind of having like a renaissance, if you will. Because I do think that people are learning about it. I do feel that angel numbers specifically is more and more of a theme that I see. Like, I see like a lot of our people in our community doing videos of like, here's what this angel number means when you see it, and here's what this means. And like, again, like I very heavily feel tied to 444. Like, 4s show up in my life a lot. It's my life path number. Whenever I was going through a hard time, like 444 was the number that I would see. Like, and I still, even like sometimes, like if I'm just having a little week and the universe is like, love you, I'm like, oh, thanks. But I think people are opening their minds back to it. Maybe it got lost for a little bit, and I think it has changed, as everything does, because we as people change, humans change as we...
Yeah, it's grown from its ancient roots now. I mean, but now we all have analog on us all the time. Like we have our phones, we're watching videos on YouTube and TikTok, and I love when I stumble upon like a TikTok video and it's like 1 minute and 23 seconds. Like that just feels so aligned. I love the 1, 2, 3, and whether or not the creator decided to make it like that or not, I appreciate looking for numbers like that.
You know what I just had a thought of? I think that numerology is still alive and well, but I think people are not using it to its full potential.
Ooh.
I think that what people think numerology is just like numbers have meanings. I think like actually using numerology in life is a lost art. Like kind of like what we were saying, like like using specific dates, like waiting to release a project on a specific date or hold an important meeting on a specific date at a specific time, and like using the power of numbers, like getting a place at a certain address. We don't use numbers as much as we could.
I will say, I'll share a personal story. My birthday was a couple months ago, and I invited everybody over, given my address, and my one friend texts me and they go, your address is 111. Like the numbers all added together. And I was like, I've lived in my apartment for almost 5 years. And never once have I thought to like add all the numbers up of my address. And for her to be like, it's 111.
That's so cute.
And I was like, oh my God, I've never thought of that. That's a great birthday gift. Because she was like, what's your address? And I had to send it to her. So it's little moments like that where you can just find these synchronicities and give someone in your life a moment of, add up the numbers of their address, see if you can find meaning in that, and share that with them. I think if these are tiny moments that you can use numerology. So you pointed out how it's a lost art form. I'm going to give a solution to this. You can use numerology to boost the morale of the people around you.
Yeah. I think you can also use numerology, like checking the number of the day, like adding up the numbers of today's, like the day's date, and then knowing your life path number, and then figuring out how that's going to affect you, or like what the energy of the day is and what that energy is going to bring into your life. You know, because it's not just, again, like it's not just you add the two numbers together, like we add our numbers together, like I'm still a 4 and you're still a 6, but together we create a new energy, we create a 1. So it's just like, it's using that, you can use it in so many ways.
And if anything, this is definitely going to be easier to grab onto than like astrology, which is very complex. Start easy. Start with numbers. You just have to memorize 9. 9 numbers. What do they mean? And then you would just have to do addition. I'm not asking for multiplication or division or solve for y. Just do some addition.
And like even just see like what numbers keep popping up in your life. Like what repeated patterns do you keep seeing? Because it is all about patterns. But
I feel like we would be remiss if we did not talk about religion and numerology.
Oh, you know I have so much to say.
What do you got for me on this?
Biblical numerology. It explores symbolic meanings and numbers within the Bible, suggesting that numbers are not just figures, but they actually carry a deeper spiritual meaning. So the Bible does not spoiler alert, Bible does not endorse numerology, but some interpretations, some traditions, there's symbolic significance in the numbers and their relationships. So the number 7 is often associated with the completion, perfection, the Sabbath. God created earth on the 7th day, or he did something on the 7th. What did he do on the 7th?
He rested.
He rested on the 7th day.
God said, I'm a rot today. And you know what I say to God? I say, I feel that.
Yeah. He rested.
I feel that.
And it symbolizes rest and a return to God's purpose. 3s represented by the Trinity, God, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. You've got the completion of something, like the 3 days Jesus was in the tomb. 6s are often linked to imperfection and the final step in a process leading to completion, leading to that 7th day. You've got like creation of humanity, the 6th day before the final resting day was 7. 40 can symbolize a period of trial and testing, like the 40 days Jesus spent in the wilderness before beginning his ministry, 40 days in the desert.
I wonder where that came from, because a woman is pregnant for how many weeks?
40. Yeah. 12 represents completeness or authority, as seen in the 12 tribes of Israel and the 12 apostles. So other cultures developed their own systems of numerology, assigning numerical values to letters and words. So, gematria?
Yeah.
Gematria is a system of assigning numerical values to letters in a language, primarily the Hebrew alphabet, to reveal hidden meanings and interpretations in biblical texts. So each letter is assigned a number, and words or phrases are given numerical values by summoning individual.
I've actually tried to do this with my name.
Really?
I don't remember what. It's very hard to do.
Yeah. I feel like I remember doing it at one point, like learning about this, and then you do it with your name and what number your name means. Yeah. So it's like that you give each letter a numeric value, and then you calculate the words, adding up the numerical values, and then you find a hidden meaning within that. And then there's, it all ties back to vibrations. So, for example, the Hebrew word for God has the gematria value of 42. Related to gematria,
Okay.
Greeks used isopsephy. Yeah, isopsephy, a numerical technique that assigns values to Greek letters and calculates the total value of words or phrases. So practitioners will look for words or phrases that have the same numerical value, viewing it as a connection or significance.
Huh. I would love to look more into this because I've never heard of this one before, but cool.
Yeah, pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Science and numerology. Talked about religion, talked about history, ancient roots. Now we've got good old science.
Yeah, I would say.
Can't really prove it. Why? I've said it time and time again. We should just play it on a loop. It's a pseudoscience, so technically science can't prove it. But that doesn't mean they won't try to study it.
Okay.
Because everything does come back to numbers. So, because numerology is considered a form of divination, science does not recognize it. It's just considered like a form of self-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
There have been studies trying to connect numerology to prove it. In 2017, they did a study on Nobel Prize winners, and they took the birth dates of over 100 Nobel Prize winners, or the birth numbers, calculated birth numbers, those life path numbers, and tried to see if there was any correlation, but there wasn't. They also tried to conduct surveys to see if certain personality traits were associated with certain life path numbers. Again, there was no direct correlation they could find. They've done several other types of experiments similar to that. They've done many tests to test these numerological predictions, but the results fail to provide any evidence to favor the claims.
I mean, yeah, scientific studies rely on measurable, repeatable outcomes, right? Numerology is subjective, symbolic interpretation. I'm thinking like we as humans have put a word, a number, like we having numbers in itself in our vernacular, in our day-to-day life, being able to be like, I have 2 pillows next to me. That's a human experience of being able to quantify something. So perhaps these numbers are just all mirrors. They're all just reflection of what a collective over time. This is what 4 feels like. This is what 2 feels like. This is what 9 feels like. You know?
I really think, though, think of the things that you associate with the numbers. So, like, when I think of 1, I think singular. I think new. I think beginnings. I think, like, you begin a journey. You start counting at 1, generally. Then you think of 2s. 2s are partners. 2s are pairs. 2s are choices. Fork in the road. 2s can be duality. 3s are community, a triangle. Like triangle of trust. 4s, I think of stability.
Yeah.
Like 4 pillars. You have 4 corners of a house.
Hold it up.
Hold it up. Stable structure. I think of 7s. I think like choices, opportunity, luck, manifestation. For 8, infinity, power, like infinite power. 9s, again, the completion. And it's kind of like when you think of certain numbers, what's the word that comes to mind when you think of that?
So even if science doesn't back up numerology as predictive truth, it also doesn't disprove it. It doesn't disprove its value, but maybe it's just a mirror, like I said before, a myth or a form of making meaning. The real power of numbers is not proving something, but in revealing something. So don't feel like, ooh, I'm going to go find my life number, or I'm going to go find mine and my partner's life number together, and then it's going to prove that we should be together, or to prove that we're on the correct life path. No, it's just going to reveal.
Yeah.
It's just going to reveal something, and be curious to that, not despondent if you don't get the number that you want.
And remember, thoughts have power. So it's less about this is what the numbers mean. If you believe it, that's your truth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you take what resonates, leave what doesn't. If you calculate yours and your partner's numbers and you realize, oh, we're a like, what's it?
5,
We're
maybe.
a 5, yeah.
Freedom
and change, maybe. If it doesn't resonate with you, chuck it out the door. Or maybe freedom and change has a different meaning. Maybe your partner
maybe you're supposed to change together,
find
your
together.
freedom together.
Change doesn't always have to be a bad thing.
No.
Yeah, freedom could also be like freedom to be yourself. It's the meaning is what you make of it.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning making.
Making meaning. Say it back and forth a bunch of times.
And put it on a t-shirt.
Anyway, to close it up, we got some journal prompts for this week.
You want to hit me with them?
So, how we started off, everyone needs to find whatever number holds personal meaning for you, and why do you think it continues to show up in your life? Is it tied to a memory, or a person, or a specific feeling? 2, what patterns or cycles do you notice in your life, and how might numerology offer a new lens to understand them? Like we just said, get curious, do the math yourself, think about timing, repeated experiences, and your thoughts have power. If it doesn't resonate, put a spin on it that maybe does, or throw it out. Who cares? Last one, if your life path number represents your soul mission, how does that number reflect who you are today and who you're becoming? Are you aligned with the number of your soul path? Do you feel like you've already passed it? Do you feel like you're coming up on it? Get curious.
Love it. And that's the power of numbers.
Until next time.
See you later.
Thanks for joining us today. We're so glad you were here. For more information on our episodes and to connect with us on social media, follow us at Spiritual Alchemy Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Stay golden!